All right, everyone. Hey, welcome to the 2022 AGM. Glad to see that we've got so many people here in attendance, and then we've got a bunch of people here in the participant chat. I see 15 people. Mark Nelson, who is also in the background, will be monitoring the chat as it comes. Mark, what? Okay, Mark is posting stuff for our online people for the elections, which will come at the end. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to offer presentations to our people who went on exchanges this past week or two. So I guess first up will be Noah. Noah went to a camp for rising tier 3s on the national stage. He went to the Utah Warriors Crossroads Cup, and then they also did some training. So Noah, come on up.
I'll keep it short. I'll keep it short and sweet.
Right here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So it was a really good experience out in Salt Lake. Was a bunch of us young and new referees working with 3 prominent MLR referees, and also working closely with the Utah Warriors. We got to meet the GM and also the new head coach and kind of talk to them about just refereeing and the MLR and how referees, as we can approach like on the club side, like talking to coaches, talking to players, and it was just a good experience overall. And going over, which I can send out after the meeting if you'd like, especially like foul play and contact to the head, which is very helpful for me because just being a new ref, just going over like what World Rugby sent out and kind of going through that process. And we watched some clips as well and kind of making decisions real time, and then we vote and say like, oh, this is what we think it would be, a red card or a yellow card, and then we'd go with what actual World Rugby, the framework, would set out. So it was really helpful, and I can send that out to you. But overall, it was a really good experience, and after this, I can send out what I went over and what we learned. So, but yeah, it was good.
How long did it last?
So it was 3 days, and so yeah, I guess I should cover that. So it was about 3 days. Got in Friday, then Saturday, Sunday. Was able to do some training on Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday AR'd for the Crossroads Academy or Crossroads Cup between teams in Utah. They're all players getting looked at by the Utah Warriors. So it was pretty good competition and really great experience for me. So yeah.
What was your training? What was the training like?
It was a lot of classroom sitting and watching clips, and then going over like World Rugby framework with the foul play and head contact. And it was really good to like just all of a sudden slow down and talk about it, and especially with other referees that had a lot of experience. So it was great for me just to kind of learn from everyone. So it was great, and I'll send it out after all the notes I took and stuff. So because it was awesome for me, and I know there's a lot of experience in this room too, but I don't mind sending out what I just learned and stuff. So yeah. Any other questions? Cool.
Yeah, so that was part of the development series that they're trying to put together for up and coming RDG members. So that was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So this past weekend, we had a bunch of exchanges. First person that I'm going to call upon is Phil. So Phil went on exchange. This was an actual direct exchange with the Texas Referee Society. He went down to Dallas. Don't trip over any quotes.
Got it.
All right, how's it going, everyone? So I went down to referee the Dallas Reds versus the Midwest Selects, which are a select side, obviously out of the Midwest. They and I was previously told this was kind of interesting. They had 1 day of practice prior to their game against the Dallas Reds, who, for those that aren't aware, which I was not, they won the D1 National Championship in the men's league last year. So definitely a high tier of rugby for them. The Midwest Flex side put up an extremely good fight. They ended within 2 tries of another. That last try was scored in the last 5 minutes. So definitely very close, definitely very competitive. The society down there was good. They took care of me. I flew in at like midnight, so I got myself to the hotel, but they got me to the game, got me back, got me a couple beers. Pretty much that's all I really need for a good exchange. The level of rugby was good, and for the Dallas Reds, they are a competitive side, and they had pretty much everything put together that they needed to. Yeah, wasn't too bad.
Did you get any feedback?
Unfortunately, no. There was no evaluator there. It was just a set of ARs. Coaches were very positive with their feedback. They really liked the game. They really enjoyed themselves. It was super competitive, and both teams were very, very thankful. So the players had a lot of positive feedback. The ARs did too. They kind of made a mistake. They laughed about it now. They were kind of beating themselves up about it. I had a penalty right in front of the post. They both went back, and then penalty went over. One of them put their flag up. The other did this notion right in front of like 150 people, and you just hear everyone lose their mind because the visual of that is they're not on the same page. And what is it? Is it a conversion or is it not? So what I did is I had a conversation. I double blast, flew them both in. Hey, what did it do? Did it go over the post? Did it go beyond the boundary? The guy who was on the close post to the penalty said, no, it was over. So no penalty, 22-meter drop. The issue is, right, like not everyone hears that. So you got to think of the visuals, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking that both ARs, if they're not on the same page and they're not 100% went through, everyone's already thinking that is not a conversion. If you give it, you're almost overriding one of your ARs to give that decision, which you can 100% do. But if he's confident, yes, didn't go over. The problem is for anyone who's never AR'd before, you always look at each other first, or if you're mic'd up, you say something first before you stick that flag up, so you don't put your center in that kind of position. It's just a lesson learned. It's not. I wasn't upset in any way.
Add that to your AR briefing?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Like,
Maybe.
it seems to be a very specific instance, but at the same time, 150 people.
Yeah. It can have significant consequences. Like if that was a 3-point game, like who knows?
Right.
People could have been very, very upset. I mean, I have no problem justifying it. Like, no, it didn't go over, perfectly fine, but you don't want to put the ARs in that position where they're having to, or myself in that position. So maybe I'll add something in my AR prior to a game. Yeah, just a little piece. Any other questions?
What was your view of that tip?
It was, for me, it looked like it went directly over the post.
So both went further up,
Correct.
hit it, come back out.
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah. You can't use that. So he was directly under the post looking up, and he said it was outside the boundary of the post.
Okay.
So confident, I appreciate it. I just wanted them to look at each other.
On the same page.
It's the same page. That's it.
This is okay. Were they inexperienced?
No, one guy was a Welsh referee. He played under 21s for Wales. He played for Houston Sabercats, NOLA Gold. Like he is a very top tier player in terms of what they have access to. But referee, he is not. He's still learning as a referee. But I mean, he skipped a bunch of steps when you're at that level of a player. You understand the law. You understand how to.
I'm missing steps.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Rob?
Yeah. Anything else? Cool. All right. Thank you.
And if you want to leave that hoodie in the box and take a couple of jerseys, good trade. All right. Next, we had Katie Roth. She went down to also Dallas and put on the women's club. Was it club? Okay. So it was the women's club regional select side. She was able to referee on Saturday and Sunday. The group was the next group of WPL referees. So as they advance themselves, this is one of the opportunities. Oh, you have pictures?
I do.
Sweet. You want to quickly get pictures for yours?
I do not.
We can just do it.
But they're
All right.
great pictures. I worked
We will
hard on
post them in the email after.
it. Yeah, so I was able to go down to Dallas. I flew in Friday afternoonish, got to hang around the hotel until the other referees arrived, and then we all got dinner together. Really just the whole weekend was a lot of just building relationships. Like 2 of them I've met before at sevens tournaments. The other one from Texas was brand new to me, but we all became like really fast friends and we're supporting each other all weekend. Each of us had a game in the center on Saturday and another one on Sunday. And the chair of the Texas Society, he's like, yeah, if you're done with your game, you can go back to the hotel. And all of us were like, no, we're just gonna sit and watch each other's games. So we're kind of paparazzing each other, taking a bunch of pictures because we all realized that none of us have pictures of ourselves refereeing. So we're trying to provide that service for each other and really just be supportive. There was tons of conversation on when is a goal line dropout or not, since we're also working on that. Even the chair of the Texas Society was arguing with Amanda Cox on one of the ones, like, was that, is it not? Like trying to figure out how to tighten up the wording that we have of it. Like there was a card that someone had like a little support card on that versus like what is the law chart. Just trying to figure out like what information should we use and how to better referee that in general. But it was a ton of fun. Texas was a wonderful host for us. They took us all out to a really nice dinner on Saturday night. And we just had a bunch of fun all weekend. The Fords referees all did face masks in the hotel. So it was a lot of fun, got along really well with all of them, and was super sad to say bye to some of them. Ready to see at least one of them in a couple weeks in California for a different development camp that I'm going to. And then the rugby itself was really great rugby. We had teams from Pacific Northwest, from the South, from Capital, so kind of DC area, and then a couple from the Midwest, one from Texas. So a total of 8 different teams, all playing against each other. And it was really great rugby. My first game was super competitive. My game on the second day kind of ended up being a runaway game, but I had some work-ons for my first game that I brought into my second game, was immediately able to change those. One thing is looking at penalty trends, so seeing is the same team being penalized over and over again, like how can you mitigate that and not just have a one-sided penalty count. And then what's the other thing? Kind of just working on one thing that Amanda Cox, the referee coach there, was working with me on is busy noise with my hands. Like I'll come set, like watch the ruck and I'll like have my hands kind of point to the ruck, point to the wing, but I don't always need to do that. So kind of focusing on myself, like what do I need to focus on based on what I'm doing and how to bring myself to a higher level. Do you have any questions?
So was all your feedback from Amanda?
Primarily, we had some from the chair of the Texas Society as well, Sean Martin. So, yeah. Yeah, it was a really fun weekend. We had great ARs from Texas local as well that we were able to work with very well. So it was a really great experience.
Good.
More pictures coming out later.
I saw that you sent those,
Yeah.
so I'll put those in there. So sweet. And then finally, Mike Lawrenson was selected to do the D1A Bowl Series. That's a national appointment put on, and it was selecting 2 teams that not necessarily would be playing against each other, Penn State and Ohio State. So Mike, if you want to come on up and tell us how your game went, and Charlotte, the city of Grateful Living.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, this weekend I just went up to Charlotte to do this game. I was assigned the game about a week ago, maybe a little bit more than a week ago. I wasn't really sure why, what I did to get the game. I wasn't really sure. So I started asking around, and Rosalind was my referee coach for a few games, and she put in a good word because of things that we went through, things we talked about. So I appreciated that, as well as Amy, who's our local here, Amy Russard. She put in a lot of good words as well. So it just goes to show, I thought Amy hated me for sure. So I'm sure some of you guys feel the same way sometimes when she's the coach on the other side. But I've been working hard all season, doing a lot of her games. So it works out when you do that. Sometimes when you work really hard and just focus on you, it pays off in the end. So I was really grateful for that game. There were referees from different societies there. We worked with each other too. I got to meet some of them for the first time. One of them was a ex-USA rugby women's player. So I got to work with her. I AR'd for her game. She did Lindenwood versus Life. Very close game. Lead changes all over the show. One of the calls that we made a mistake on, and it was a good learning lesson. So I'll give it to you guys as well. See if you guys think of the same thing in the chat. Maybe you could throw out what you think the answer is. But we were both underneath the post for a penalty kick, and the ball went underneath the post and got towards the end of the end zone. Sorry, I'm out of the camera here. So it got the ball went all the way to the end of the end zone. The Life player picked it up, but then couldn't control her balance and stepped out at the back. Say again? Yeah, not goal line dropout. 22 is the answer. Yeah, 5-meter scrum is what you did because they was brought in by the attacking team. Yeah, so the attacking team kicked it in. Even though she caught it, you can always just catch it and you can just step out. You don't even have to put it down for it to be a 22 because it was brought in by the other team. So that was a mistake we made. She was pretty confident. I tried to correct her after we said a 5, and she said she was pretty sure, and it looked bad for us to be over-committing and changing, and no one even recognized it. But we went back and checked the low book afterwards, and we both saw that it was a 22.
She gave a 5-meter scrum?
She gave a 5-meter scrum, yeah. To the attacking side. No, I did not. And that was what we were happy about. They did not score off that. But Phil asked if the attacking side scored off that 5-meter scrum error we made, but it could have been pretty bad, yeah. Right. So that was that game. I thought that was really great. It was good to work with Jenny. Then in my game, it was probably one of the most fun games I've ever done. Very competitive, lead changes constantly. It was actually really fun to do such high-level college again. I haven't done that in a long time, and I felt like the first 20 minutes I couldn't even find a penalty because it was just well done by the teams. They were like rolling away, they weren't committing hands in. It was just like the defensive line was structured. It was just very disciplined. So that when someone finally put their hands in, I was like, yes, got one. Like it was like almost like I was like waiting for one. So that's been a while because sometimes when we rep the men's league, it's like you're like, oh, okay, that's a penalty, but I'll leave that alone because I've done so many penalties. So that was fun. Some of the calls still haunt me to this day. I think that goes with every game that's pretty high level, and the call actually changes the lead. So it was a good time. They looked after me. We had some beers afterwards, met some high level people in USA Rugby. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Hopefully get some more in the future.
Yeah, cool. All right, so that's it for our presentations here. So now we're going to roll into the officers' reports. We have slides, so if anybody's just going to do that. So these are actually going to be flipped around a little bit. So it's going to start off with ops, and then we're going to go into recruitment and retention, and then the chair's update. So I will turn this over to operations extraordinaire, Paul Jones. Yeah. Do you want me to pass those out?
Oh, no, that's kind of ugly to read, but is anybody interested in a paper copy of our profit and loss statement?
Yeah, just turn it back.
All right.
Anybody else?
So it doesn't translate that well up on the screen, but the top portion is our total income that came in. In our accounting software, what we get in for income pretty much all comes from RefUp. So RefUp gets the money from the teams that pay for their services and all that. They pay you, they pay your mileage directly out of RefUp, and then whatever's left comes to the society. So that's pretty much the majority, if not totality, of our operating income. So you'll see in a later slide that we paid out over $60,000 in referee services. That's just out of RefUp before it even kind of gets to this part here. So all that back in accounting, thank you, Steve Gore. Thank you, RefUp. I'm not gonna go through every single line item on this profit and loss statement, but some things to call out down in the supplies section. Food for events, we had, Aspen, we had a lot more socials this year. That accounted for a lot of that. And then kit, we paid out almost $3,000 in kit this year. So that was new polos, tracksuits. Of the 15 tracksuits we got this year, half of those were paid out by credits that were earned. So, that's money that you have earned. It also kind of comes away with, money that you didn't receive in referee services previously. And that's going to continue as well. It also included socks and shorts that Aspen did not pay for at Ruggerfest. We're still in negotiations with them for putting the wrong logo on there. They're negotiating with their Chinese counterpart, I guess. But so that may be still some money that we have coming back to us. And actually, we're still waiting to be reimbursed from Aspen for quite a few things. So, and then in the travel, as you saw, there were quite a few exchanges. So we fly our referees out to places, and then we put referees up. So in travel, logistics, both of those, and including Aspen travel payments, we were out about $5,500. So all in all, turnover, it looks like we're down about $7,900. However, there we go. So we have about $6,600 in outstanding invoices out, $3,700 to Ruggerfest, and then Air Force and Colorado State could not put debit cards down for the referee service. So we should be realizing that soon. So all in all, as I expected when I took on this role, I wanted to make sure that we had a couple of years of COVID where we weren't seeing a lot of coaching, we weren't seeing a lot of kit. So as I was kind of hoping and we brought a lot of people out to Aspen, more so than we may have needed to. So all in all, we got about a $1,300 loss, assuming that all these pay out. So those are the dollars and cents. Are there any questions? Okay. And then again, new polos, new tracksuits. We restocked the supply jerseys and shorts in the Bushi store. The shorts and socks in Aspen, like I mentioned, and then hopefully we still get the credit back from Aspen. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Out of all the roles that kind of help run this whole thing, yours is the one that gets the least amount of thanks and is definitely the most important.
Thank you, Paul.
So, yeah. So next up, we're going to have our recruitment and retention. Mike Lawrence, your presentation. Did you get anything on there? Okay, great.
All right, guys. So we did 2 level 1 referee courses, which is great for us. We usually just do one a year. Yeah. So we did 1 in Glendale and 1 in Northern Colorado. I think we had a record number of people in our second one, but it is a requirement for us to have at least 5 people 5 or 10? 8, at least 8. Yeah, 8, but you can't have more than 15. So it's a very weird number that you have to have in terms of people that want to sign up for these things. So it's a lot of work, but we did get a lot of people this year. And I think one of the main things about our society is constantly adding new members to our society because we are powerful in numbers. So we had 1 in Glendale, 1 in Northern Colorado, and we'll have, I'm going to aim for, or we should aim for having at least 2 next year again, because I think that it adds to our society having more referees. And we also did a CMO 1, thanks to Mark Nelson in Aspen Ruggerfest, and I think we had a record number of people doing a CMO 1 as well. So hopefully another one of those next year as well.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Is there any talk of a level 2 referee course? Anywhere? Yes, we should do one of those as well. Looking to do one of those.
So the question was, do we have any level 2 referee courses coming up? And we're looking to do one next year as well here in Glendale.
And technically, like the CMO 1 is sorry, the CMO one is not a World Rugby course. It's just like, they've kind of broken it up. It's like, this is how USA Rugby would like to coach in USA Rugby. And then the CMO two now is now CMO, World Rugby. It's more of like, let's go to a match and just completely break down all aspects of the match and talk about like longer goals. So that would have to be like a planned event, when there is like a high level match. And then it's like, it was great to have athletes for the CMO one, we can practice the coaching. CMO two would be like test match or something here or somewhere, and we have a plan.
Nice.
Sorry.
Any questions? There you go.
Hey, real quick, like, any conversions from the 2 level ones?
Yes.
Again?
Here, you can move.
Fair bit.
Yeah, we've had a good, so if you look at that,
Softball.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's what I've realized is that not everyone who becomes an L1 joins a society, and that's okay. Maybe it's just not the right time for them. You know, that an L1 is for life. So once you have the L1 certification, you can come in at any time. Obviously, we'd like them all to join right away. So if you know someone in this picture that was at your L1 and wanted to join and didn't know how, please get a hold of me or hold of anybody in the EC because we can help you get involved. But yeah, we realized over the years, just talking to Mark, that sometimes when you do an L1, you get 10 people to do an L1. Usually you get about 5 of them to stay, 4 of them to stay. So again, another reason to have as many people as you can at an L1. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Mike. Just like that. I got more stuff. All right, so I'm Joe, I'm the chair. So I was able to work with both ops and Mike. We started off kind of rocky. We had, as we came out of COVID, people were kind of trying to figure out, what do we want to do? Do we want to continue to come back to refereeing as that was what I did before COVID? And you know, we had an election last year. It was a non-competitive election, and so I think that some people kind of felt that they had to take the role because nobody else was going to. Now, after that step was made, you know, Mike and Paul were able to step up and fulfill the roles. Fantastic. There you go. So I'm going to highlight some things, high points, and things that happened over this past calendar year. So at Aspen, as we talked about, all matches had a team of 3. You know, one of the things that we worked on was making sure that we branched out to everyone. Some people that might have been missed out in the past couple of years. Because of that team of 3, we were able to bring in top coaches from around the United States: Amanda Cox, Peter Watson, Greg Gilliam, just name a few. They were then able to work with all of our referees, both as assistant referees and center referees, and get developed. I've been to 2 Aspens. I can say that it was the best because the one prior was very small. But talking with some of the older folks, the more experienced folks, it was right up there. We also were able to have the first woman to referee the Aspen final. It then, I won't say that it then propelled her on to refereeing at the World Cup, but can't say it didn't. So back in March, we had we resumed meetings for a year and a half. We had our meetings in Zoom, which, you know, kind of made people feel isolated. This is a society. That's our whole point. And we were able to resume in-person meetings. We had members of our high-performance referees present, both with video and picture and being able to present on their takeaways. We also were able to bring in league managers to present in person, those that attended the NASO conference. And so we could talk about their takeaways. One of those, the major takeaway that was there was how we are working to combat referee abuse. We've had development. We've really opened up our exchanges. We've had we've conducted exchanges with 5 LROs listed there: SoCal, Texas, NorCal, Mid-America, and Utah, as well as we've opened up 2 exchanges and assisted with a third. The 2 international exchanges is with British Columbia in Canada and Cornwall and Devon in the UK. We haven't been able to action on those because of early in the year, they were dealing with COVID restrictions, making sure that you had a COVID passport, that kind of thing. And then Art was able to attend the Bingham Cup. About midway through the year, we increased our match fees. The center, you can see the way that our match fee changes came into effect. With the major point of trying to have referees compensated for their services, as well as having other people that might not think that there's value there for referees to come in. We also were able to institute payment for the Thursday Social 7. Previously, that was a volunteer only event. And I think that was able to get people some quality reps. We had a social event. We had 2 social events. The winter social event was the scavenger hunt in Denver, with everybody being able to interact on a different level, right? The whole point being, hey, let's take our referee hats off and get to actually know each other as people. Then we had our summer social putt-putt event, helpfully put on. So some people were able to bring their significant others. Mike Lawrence's sheets. That's all we know about that. We were also able to put on an awards banquet at Aspen Rugged Fest. Finally, we were able to offer a referee fitness event. We had 2 Broncos put on by the group, so that way we can start putting our best foot forward.
We changed the name of that workout to Bronco to something else.
I will look into it.
So we'll keep it the same.
Before we move on to, is this me? Okay. Yeah. Finally, here's refereeing by the numbers. I last wanted to put on, so as a society, we have a lot of different societies. The importance of promotion and elevation of the referees is because of it's only for status. We are our society, because of the way that we do assignments, we are more ad hoc. We have RDOs and other people that are integral into development that identify people that need to be moving up quicker. A lot of people, if you miss the December go around, the AGM go around, you're out. Like you'll get promoted next year. Not that it hurts your chances, but that is something that you miss out. Well, we do that ad hoc. So we try to keep a track of who we have promoted. So I want to bring up, we promoted 3 people from level 10 to level 9. Brian Rice, Brian Walker, and Wrigley Reeves. So we promoted 1 level 9 to a level 8. That is Brendan Serpasi. We promoted 2 people from level 8 to level 7, Charlie Jones and Mose Timoteo. And we promoted 4 people from 7 to level 6, Bill Schwan, Mike Lawrenson, Katie Roth, and Craig Freon Gleason. Freon. So, otherwise, anybody have any questions for the year that was?
So how many matches were we not able to provide a referee for? I don't have that data.
The problem with that, the spiking of that data is that we were filling in for try rugby, and they understood that we weren't going to completely fill that in. So they would put down like, hey, we want 12 referees. And then it's like, great, we also have like 20 other assignments, so we're not gonna be able to do that. But we can offer you 6. And they're like, oh, that's all we actually wanted because we have 6 try rugby level referees. You guys are just gonna take the harder ones.
So how many estimate maybe for like high school matches and above?
Less than 50.
Yeah, I would say less than 15. Okay. So that's.
And that was also early season. We, the one that I want to kind of hang our hat on is that I think that we only missed 1 assignment in Wyoming. And that was because they let us know about it the night before.
Most of the things we do miss are put in 2 days, and for like, we're scrambling.
Yeah.
Right.
Being able to print that data is kind of
schedules and lives. Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
they gotta work with. Yeah. At the end of the day, if they really needed a referee was found. We were able to scramble and people stepped up. Rugby Colorado, we've had some conversations and negotiations with them to help improve that in the future. But at the end of the day, they make do with what we provide, with what people were able to do and what they kind of filled in the rest.
Paul's comment was, for the people that are the 25 participants online, Paul's comment was, if they really needed a referee at the last minute, we scrambled as hard as we could. And that includes injuries, that included, oh shoot, I double booked myself, that kind of thing. So I do like the fact how our completion rate. And when in doubt, we just called on Mike Lawrence to do 5. All right. Otherwise, if there's no additional questions, I will turn this over to.
3rd year in a row.
Huh?
3rd year in a row. So
what?
3rd year in a row.
3rd year in a row?
What did you catch me?
1 year you probably did 2, and that was probably the most. Okay. Otherwise, we will move on to the AGM. So I think we can say, like, proxies are done. We can now forever hold peace.
Well, I'm kind of getting them
Okay.
as we go, but
We've got.
every proxy I'm getting through the chat, I'm sending the markup. Taking
Good.
screenshots.
So we have an independent adjudicator, former chair, or president, chair, former chair. We changed the name. Chair Mark Huff, who will facilitate the election. So here are the candidates.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. So I need to refresh this. Chris O'Malley has withdrawn.
Sorry, I did not change that. Yeah, sorry. Gonna call earlier.
Refresh this. All right,
Just gone.
just gone.
Race that never existed.
Yeah.
An unperson.
All right. So, please don't start at the beginning. Okay, good. Awesome. So I'm going to turn this over to Mark. I'm going to turn it over to a Mark, who will take care of this. Thanks.
Go ahead, Mark. It's all pretty.
Okay, so this is the criteria we're using. We do have contested elections this year, which is great to have. We haven't had a lot of those in the past. So we want to be fair to all the candidates. So we're going to give each candidate 5 minutes to talk. If you want to use all 5, fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. And then we'll have a 20-minute question and answer session for all the candidates. The intention would be, if you ask a question, that it must be pertinent to each candidate's platform, and each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer. But if you ask a question of 2 candidates for chairman, we would ask both chairmen to respond to that question. Right? Same for the recruitment and retention. And then we'll ask candidates to step outside. We'll have a short discussion without the candidates, and then we will vote. We'll vote in order. We'll do the chair, we'll do the ops, and then the recruitment and retention.
We're gonna do ops recruitment chair.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Well, ops is easy.
Ops is easy.
So we'll go in that order. I understand that they are texting me, the guys on Zoom are texting me their votes.
Put that in there with, you.
Okay.
Votes, so the vote uncertainty, and that will be on the next slide as well.
Okay.
Essentially,
All right. So how do I go to the next slide? Okay. It will be anonymous. We have index cards. We'll pass them out. Put down the in-first names are fine, guys. That'd be fine. Just and then turn them in. You do have to be in good standing. Marks has distributed the list of referees in good standing. So if you're not in good standing, we ask you not and not come up and get a card. If you don't know whether you are in good standing or not, please see Mark. He's the keeper of the list. Again, you have to register with USA Rugby. You have to be registered with REFA. And here's the numbers to text to. And we do have some proxies that did come in earlier today. And so we'll be counting those folks as well. So any questions on the process, folks?
Yes, this is Freon here. I have a quick question. On the voting process, I know that the votes are anonymous. However, I mean, I would imagine you would need to know if the candidate or if the person voting is in good standing. So shouldn't I attach my name to my vote when I send it to, say, for example, you in a text message?
Yeah, that'd be fine. And what we'll do is, and I will see it, and we'll have someone else verify it. We agree that Freon said this, and we'll mark it down as who you voted for, but no one else will see how you voted, Freon.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
All right, what's that, Joe? Yeah. So,
We do have a form.
okay.
The number of proxies, the number of people here. There's 17 in the room. Two proxies, Larry's getting one, Katie has a proxy, that's 21. Yeah. 22, and then there's all the people online. There's 25 people online, of which I think only maybe 10 are not in good standing. So we have a form.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll open it up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick, I guess.
Sure.
My name is Paul. No, just kidding. I just wanted to quickly, I know that nobody's running opposed because nobody wants to do this part of the executive committee job. But back in March, when the opening arose, Mark said some pretty powerful words, said, be the change you want to see in the society. So out of contempt or ignorance of, the committee and some, issues I've had historically with the executive committee, past committees, I decided to step up and take this role. And to be honest, it would be more painful to teach someone what I've had to learn over the last 6 months. But anyway, I still want to be that change that I want to see in the society, and hopefully you guys have seen some of it too. And obviously there's nobody running for me, but please feel free to let me know if there's something I can do to make your jobs easier or your lives easier as referees. Thanks.
So with that, we're going to do the president first then? No, we want to vote.
Well, Mark, since you're facilitating this, I move that all of you elected officers for by acclamation.
Yeah.
One more year in the barrel.
Anyone on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom have any?
Does anyone on Zoom have any comments or questions?
Great.
Any, Mark?
Congrats, Paul. And then I think we're gonna do our recruitment and retention. So Katie and Mike.
Katie, Mike, you want to say a few words?
Rock, paper, scissors, see who goes first.
All right, hello. Y'all saw me earlier. Katie Roth.
Microphones, that way they can hear you.
Okay. Katie Roth, running for recruitment and retention. I've been a part of the society for 5 years in February. I've wanted to, be that change that I wanted to see, but I've been nervous because I was like, I'm still a new referee. Like, do I really know what I'm doing? Can I have that leadership role? But the more and more I get involved with society and the more I've been able to work with people from other societies, I think I have a lot of good ideas that I can bring. And especially like as a female referee, I feel like I'm in a unique position to be able to grab other female referees in, like looking around the room, like not counting people online. I'm the only female in the room. And I know there are people online. I see you. I wish I could go through the participant list and, comment on every single one of you and hope to see y'all in person. And I really want to see that change. And as a female athlete, we have always struggled with numbers and recruitment. So, I had to recruit people actively to be able to even play rugby when I was in college. So I think I know how to reach out to teams. I know how to talk to people. I know how to talk to people that know more about that than I do and use their resources to help get more people to come in. And when I started 5 years ago, I felt really supported. I felt it was super easy to join. I took the L1 on a limb, and then like the next week I was ARing, and I AR'd a couple matches, and I went into the center. And I've talked to people that got certified during the summer. They didn't see any rugby until March, and even then they weren't really supported. It was really hard to get their foot in the door, and that's some of the changes that I want to make. Like I want to make a clear pathway when you take the L1. Here's how to join the society if you want to join it. Here's some resources. I've talked to some other referees, and we have an idea of setting up a buddy system, which I think would be great. Like pairing some referees with some younger referees or new people to help just have that mentorship. Like this past weekend, I was surrounded by a bunch of referees and we had a community. I've had games where I'm the only person there, and it's really lonely. Like a lot of people join refereeing because they can't play anymore. And a lot of people's favorite part of playing is that community. So I'd love to have a better community as our referee society. And so that is retaining what we have here, building relationships with each other, building relationships with other societies so we can be more sustainable and learn from each other and deliver the best rugby that we can.
So what groups would you say that you are?
No.
Like, I don't know if questions are later.
We both like talking, and we'll go back to the question.
Shame on me.
Easy.
You good?
Yeah, good job. Yep.
Mike's over there just sitting down, doing nothing.
All right. Keep getting shy. Yeah, I know. It's always me. Okay, so I wrote it down, but I like to try and talk to my heart rather than. So, but I'm just gonna have this here just in case. So firstly, I wanted to say that I always felt weird about how passionate I am about rugby. But I've realized that there's a lot of weirdos in this room too, and I really appreciate that. You guys love rugby too. And I love interacting with each and every one of you. I know I'm a jokester most of the time, but we share a lot of similar interests, all of us. So hopefully we can stay focused on that. I'm the current recruitment and retention officer, and I joined sometime in the middle of the year. I can't really remember when, but a little background on myself. I've been playing since I was like 9. And ever since I got to America, every society that I ever was a part of, whether it was executive committee, a team or school councils, anything like that, I've always somehow gotten involved in the EC, sometimes not by choice. And I always seem to push up to the chairman or president position because I felt like the group was not as excited about doing it. Or they weren't doing what I think they could be doing. They're just kind of just doing the bare minimums. And I'll tell you that after being in the society, the three, Paul, Mark, and Joe are not doing the bare minimum. They're working really hard. I was prepared when I joined this position. Joe asked me to join, and I immediately said no because I made a promise to myself that when I came to Colorado, I'm just going to focus on refereeing and play. I'm not going to do that thing again. But Joe said that the society needed it, and I love you guys and I love rugby, so I did it, for that reason. But I thought I would just do the bare minimum and be one of those guys. But after seeing how much work they put in, it was very hard to do that. So one thing that I noticed too is when I spoke to these other referees from other societies is that a lot of referees don't have a lot of what we have here, and that's good to remember. One of them were really impressed that we even had our own jerseys, we had our own flags, had our own coins. They don't have any of that. Thank you. But if you don't see other societies or be part of other societies, sometimes you would never know that. And I've had the unfortunate time of being part of some of those societies. So when I came here, I was always very impressed about what we have here. So I feel like we stand on the shoulders of giants, of people that have done a lot of work here to make this a smooth transition. So it's good to remember that. So let's go back to this. So I worked really hard to get as many people as I could to be part of the L1, get their certification. The reason for that was I felt that the more numbers we had in our society, the stronger we would be as a society. I think that we do lose members every year, every society does. And as long as I think the most important part of recruitment and retention is to make sure that number of that is going up rather than down. So that was my goal for this year, for the short period. I think I put a lot of effort into trying to get as many people as possible. It's not as easy as it looks. A lot of people say that they're going to do it and don't do it, but just keeping that in your mind. And I had the energy and the excitement to do it that year. I think it's a great position for the club. It's a necessary position for the society. And I think that it should be a person that changes every year. I think that the passion needs to be a new person that has new passion, new energy, new excitement for it. And it gets access to different peoples in different areas. Different areas, different teams. I think it should be a position that changes every year. And I think that Katie makes an excellent choice for this position. I think that she has a great idea, and I think that just that you listen to her speech, you can see that she's passionate about it and she wants to join. So with that being said, I'd like to retract my nomination, and I will be the first to congratulate Katie on her new position.
I really want to go. Now, sure. So, what groups would you like to focus on? Where do you think that we would get the most people to bring in at low level or mid level or whatever, where we need to, kind of a two-part question, where we need to shore up, where we're lacking on referees?
Okay. I think, just the first thing I see is where are all the women at? So I think my first goal is to talk to high school girls teams, talk to local college teams, tell them of our upcoming L1s, maybe make them in more accessible locations. Like we had one in Northern Colorado, which is great. We can hit UNC, CSU, things like that. In Glendale, we can reach a lot of the Denver teams. Maybe we can hit one down in Southern Colorado as well, get Palmer High School, get Air Force, get people out from that. So my main focus first is on female referees and building that base. I think in general, even saying when they're talking about promoting our levels, We have a lot in that mid-range. I know we always start people at like 10 and 9. So just making sure that we keep those people and then keep building them up. We have the national and regional pathways to help provide development for our, I think, level 5s and above. So how can we focus as a society on everyone in the middle and everyone that is just starting? Again, maybe a buddy system we can work with, pair some of our level 5s and above with a lower referee, even pair some of our level 7s with someone. Like, my goal is everyone has at least someone with them on the pitch every game, whether that's an assistant referee helping out with your game, because then it's not just you walking up alone, which I think could also help out with referee abuse some as well. Because if there's 2 people, then you at least have someone to help you or someone to be like, hey, don't talk to me right after the game, or don't talk to them right after the game. Give them some time to calm down. Then the 2 of them could approach as a team instead of just an individual. So I think just more support from each other will be a lot of what keeps us there. And again, that focus group on seeing, you know, if you want to do a match, but you're not seeing matches, what can we do to help you? Like, can we open up some assistant referee slots? Again, I'll have to work with Paul on what the logistics of that all look like. But again, looking for more support, looking for seeing if people are not actively refereeing, why that is. Like, maybe you've had family vacation, maybe you've been really busy with work, but just seeing why are you not taking games and how can we make that more accessible? Does that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Support, I think that support is really, really important.
Mhm.
I mean, for speaking for myself, from coming from a no rugby background, just to have that support, to, you know, and like I
Yeah,
said, going out there.
a little bit shorter than like.
I mean, it's scary. I mean, you know, the first few times, I'm given a pathway, like, start off here, start off baby steps, and then before you have a buddy system, kind of like that too.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions or any questions from online? Am I allowed to look through the chat?
Mark will read the
Mark
chat.
will read the chat.
Sorry, I'm getting, no, there's nothing in it.
Okay, sweet, awesome. I'm really excited to see what we can do. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the chairman's position. I don't know who wants to go.
Challenger.
Yes. All right. We got a challenge.
Mark, am I in view?
All right. Perfect.
Cool. All right. So first off, I'd like to say how wonderful it is that we're getting a competitive election. And I'm happy to see the uptick of participation across the whole organization and how great it is that so many people are stepping up to take part in this leadership. If I'm elected again, I intend to offer leadership positions to all people that had put their hand up in the first place. The platform I ran on last year was many hands make light work. And prior to tonight, I'm excited to see 6 people willing to do the work in this upcoming year. The objective of RMRR is to support the game of rugby union football, develop referees throughout the Rocky Mountain region, and provide match officials and referee services to constituent rugby clubs, rugby unions, and organizations. We have achieved this in this past year, and with a re-election to the position of chair, we can continue this objective. During this past year, I've taken this role of chair / the chief executive seriously as a job, not just as a hobby. And I've done my best to push the members to be the most professional that they can be. This is absolutely a part-time job. I've averaged about 5 hours a week of work per week on administration, coordination, and monitoring of exchanges, building relationships with Rocky Mountain Rugby and Rugby Colorado, reading every advantage report from our referees, reviewing all referee coaching reports for completeness, as well as ref development notes, and having regular discussions with our RDOs and vice chair to make sure that everyone is properly leveled. The relationship building has allowed me to successfully institute a pay increase, both for RMRR and Rugby Colorado assignments, with 593 of them being offered over $60,000 paid out to almost amongst 50 referees. I did this not just because I think we deserve to get paid more, but because I want to grow the organization's retention and recruitment by helping ease any financial factors the decision to referee may create. Looking forward to the next year, should I be reelected as chair, I want to push members with continuing education and sharing their education experiences from exchanges. I want to create an expanded curriculum for ref education that includes on-field training work, not just stationary meetings here in the courtroom. I want to establish a better practical physical training program, which includes mid-month work with teams at their practice. I want to organize an inclusive awards dinner separate from Aspen to celebrate all of our accomplishments. I want to work with Paul and at the Aspen Ruggerfest organization to negotiate new lodging and partnerships to continue the traditional excellence and ease RMRR has brought to Ruggerfest each year. I want to develop a stronger refereeing contingent throughout the Western Slopes and Colorado Springs. And I want to work with the new team leaders and our new recruitment and retention officer to better develop a more diverse referee base that better reflects the local player base. Finally, I want the best for the society. I'd love to continue to be chair and lead from the front. I finished what I started, which may seem stiff, because I take the role of chair seriously. The objective of RMRR is to support the game of rugby union football, develop referees throughout the Rocky Mountain region, and to provide match official and referee services to constituent rugby clubs, rugby unions, and organizations. That can be achieved by continued execution of strategic direction. I hope that whomever is elected chair will take the role just as seriously in the upcoming years I have in the past year. Thank you.
Yeah, most still a job board then. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'll make this a little bit short and sweet, but I'm going to echo a lot of what everybody else has already said. I'm going to work for Rocky Mountain Society, first and foremost, because that's who we are. And if that means that I can help anybody here as a referee continue their progress as a referee to the next level and to the next level and to the next level, whatever capacity that may be, I want them in the back of their mind to say, Rocky Mountain gave me that lift up. And that starts from the L1 that we start with recruiting. And echoing what Katie said, is that we have a buddy system. We have quite a few high-level referees in our society that on a weekend basis will do a D1A game, we'll travel on exchanges, something like that. Way for them to give back to the community, our community of Rocky Mountain referees, is to bring a new referee on board with them. You have a D1 game locally, have them come in A afterwards. That way they get to know you, get to know your processes, get to know the professionalism that it takes to do what we do week in, week out. That's what's important. Along that with, this is not a singular job. We're a group here of many. And as Joe has actually just said, many hands make light work. When it comes to retention, that's not just Katie's job to actually continue. That's part of my job. That's part of your job as other referees that may not be part of the executive committee. That make sure that you are involving yourself with these new referees that come in and show them what a tight-knit community that we have in our own little tight-knit community of rugby. One of the great things about refereeing is that we are very close. We go through the same thing every Saturday, and we can talk to each other, and that's what I want. I want this to be open and transparent. My platform is transparency on everything. That comes from the executive committee all the way through to what the referees are doing on a day-to-day basis. I do have a few things that I personally would change within the society, as I've been part of 2 executive committees, one in New York and one over in New England. A few bylaw changes that I would make, and that includes starting with having more members being on the executive committee being voting members. Having 3 voting members to me is a little short-sighted and makes every conversation a little bit shorter than it needs to be. I would bump that up to start with 5, because all it does is then create a better communication, a better conversation for things. That way, it's not just a 1 versus 2 situation. Creates a better conversation, more open conversation, and more transparent conversation. So that to me is what's best for this society, for any society. And that's really all I have at the moment. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so at this point, we're gonna have a question and answer session. Feel free to ask any questions of our 2 candidates. They'll each have 30 seconds to respond to the question.
Pierce will answer first time, then Joe, and then Joe, and then Pierce. So if you do have a question, come on up and kind of talk into the mic so the people on the Zoom can hear as well. And then we'll just kind of have to huddle around that mic. You guys can use this.
Yeah, that's good.
For us on Zoom, if we have a question, should we just type it in?
Just raise your hand
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I'm
and
sorry.
then I'll call on you.
All right.
All right.
Because this is kind of a half and half question, but because Pierce, you brought up the idea of more members on the executive committee, I would ask you, what would those 2 more positions be? And I would ask Joe, do you agree with that? And you know, what's Joe's vision on that bit?
Sure.
I would start with having the vice chairs also being an elected position. Having the chair choose the vice chair to me seems a bit odd, because again, this is not. Yep. This is not just the chair's job. This is your job. This is the chair is up here doing what you need them to do, and that includes the vice chair as well. So including the vice chair as an elected official was also something that's also important to me, because it just means that you guys have a bigger voice of what happens within your own society. And as far as the second position, I'm still debating between what would be right as far as an elected somebody within society, or maybe possibly creating a different one, maybe an ombudsman that referees, if they're not feeling comfortable, then they can go to that person.
So Joe's initial question to me was, would I expand the elected position roles? As it stands right now, I would not, because no decision has been made in a vacuum this entire time. I communicate with so many people on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. That 5 hours of time does not include the communication time. Mark, as my vice chair, has been, as my vice chair, has been amazing. We have daily conversations. We do not need to have these people be elected positions, because plainly, we don't end up having that many people showing up on a monthly basis.
Larry, your other question?
Yeah, so I get that you're probably not going to heal the rift between Rugby Colorado and Sierra from a like an organizational standpoint, but from the refs perspective, I don't give a shit who the match organizer is. I don't want to have to deal with 2 operations. Do either of you have any plans on sort of unfucking that and getting it back to, you know, the referee society is reffing Sierra and Rocky Mountain Rugby at the same time?
So Larry, the conversation between RMRR and CIRA have been as uneffed as you've described. I am in a constant discussion with Amy. Those decisions are also not made in a vacuum, but the process right now between RMRR and CIRA have been, right now, they just need to be paying you in a different way. Uneffing it, as you described, that's going to be a decision made by their side, not ours.
I can't speak to what you're necessarily talking about, Larry, so unfortunately I'm a little bit out of my depth. So I have not heard of any risks or anything like that, so I can't speak to what you're asking. Sorry.
Anyone have a question? Katie, come on up.
I guess take the mic. I'm curious on y'all's thoughts on moving meetings from in-person to being entirely online. Like I know we have referees in Wyoming and referees all the way from north to south. So what is your thought process, or what are your thoughts on moving meetings from being in-person to entirely online, besides like a couple, like maybe bi-monthly meetings in person as a whole group?
I actually agree with you, Katie. I think we cover a wide slant of land here. So it's not easy for people down in the Springs to get up here or wherever they may be, even up in Wyoming. So I would go to maybe either bi-monthly or even tri-monthly, having an in-person meeting, and every other meeting being a Zoom meeting. Because I think we still get the same amount of participants regardless.
Katie, actually, my take has actually started to go the opposite direction, going more all in person. We would record things, but also at the same time, we would have floating meetings. The idea that we would have is that we are going to have larger groups be able to have their own training sessions. Texas, the second largest state in the country, has actually north, middle, and south meetings. That's something that I would like to institute once we start having large groups in our regions of northern Colorado, Wyoming, the western slope, Colorado Springs, as well as here in Glendale.
Me then, Jim.
My question is to you is, how would you like to approach Rugby Colorado to massage their schedule to something other than Saturdays, so we can get more coverage on Wednesdays and Fridays games? And how would you like, how will you bridge that kind of rift of the previous 4 chairs they've had this year to get that up, to get that going?
So having already established this past year through their issues, I've already started a good relationship with Rugby Colorado. We've started to develop having level 10s and also having them on Friday nights and Sundays. My interactions with them have been positive, and it's the constant communication. They know that my door is always open, so to be able to communicate that. But yeah, having those matches on non-Saturdays is important to us as referees, so that way Mike and everybody else can have 7 games a week.
I think it's important to recognize that games are two-way streets. We're not just dependent on Rugby Colorado. They've got to recognize that we too have lives outside of this. We have families, partners, jobs, all that sort of stuff, and so there needs to be obviously a recognition of what's going on in life. That being said, goes both ways. If somebody can give up an afternoon or Saturday or Friday or Thursday, whatever it may be, if there's a game, jump on it. But we've got enough, and if we keep the recruitment and retention, then that's another way, because somebody else can go and may not be able to be there for the whole game, comes for half a game, and then watch that new referee that may be a level 10. So.
I got a note here from JR LaFerriere that Regis, Monarch, and Valor have rejoined D1 Rugby Colorado group. I'm not sure if Sarah is going to this. Say that one more time. Regis, Monarch, and Valor have rejoined D1 Rugby Colorado group, and I'm not sure Sarah is going to exist. So there's only one team left, Sarah, right? It's Walmart, right? Yes. Okay, we have Jim Russell from the floor, and then we're gonna go with Freon from the Zoom.
I just wanted to follow up on the answers to Katie's questions. Are you guys saying that if we had Zoom meetings, we would not have any in-person meetings? Or is it we would have in-person meetings with Zoom capability? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Zoom is obviously an invaluable tool for us, which is great, because we do cover a very wide area. So people that can't actually be here in person can use it. I would utilize Zoom regardless if we have an in-person, but I would probably go to in-person maybe even bi-monthly, and then we can expand from that. But Zoom would always be used in some facet.
No, the Zoom would be more phased out. We would start utilizing YouTube videos from those, but just as much as we're dealing with. Right now, we are tethered to this room, and we end up talking a lot more about administration. What we would end up doing is much more what we had done, we had started to do prior to COVID, which was group sessions outside on the field, interacting with the actual field, and then talking about the group standard that we're going to be setting outside, not being tethered to one location with Zoom. Zoom is great for administration, but we don't need to be having that 10 times a year.
Thank you. Freon, you have a question?
Yes, I do. This is actually a question for Pierce directly.
It needs to be to both.
Okay, my question is about time and time spent doing this position. You know, Joe has already established relationships with, say, Rugby Colorado, Sierra, men's clubs, women's club, what have you, and still puts in potentially, you know, or on average, 5 hours a week. I'm wondering if all candidates would have that kind of time, or potentially more in the future. If, you know, more relationships are needed to be established, they would have that time and would be willing and want to put in that time to do this type of position.
Yeah, so moving on, my time restraints have not changed. And I've already gotten on the front foot. The other part is that through this past year, I have been in attendance 100% of the time. I even go to finals, both high school and club. I do that to make sure that anybody, both players, coaches, and referees, can reach out to me. So time is not a limiting factor for me in any capacity.
I'm all in. Right, I've only been in the state for a year. I've now grounded myself for what I have. Live here. I'm here. Rugby is a massive part of my life, and I'm here for it. So I put my foot down, my roots down here. This is where I'm going to be.
Does anyone else have any questions? Anyone from Zoom have any questions? Any more questions?
Okay,
Okay, so we'll ask
Oh,
for two
hold on.
games. Oh, sorry.
sorry, I'm just trying to.
So one last chance for the Zoom participants to ask a question.
Over here.
Okay, Brendan, come on up, sorry.
This will be the last one.
Okay, the last question.
All right, so my questions for both of you is with referee abuse seemingly on the rise right now and really no mitigation right now. What are your plans to try to stop that in the future with reporting to the exec board, to whoever involved to try to stop that and hold the parties accountable for any sort of abuse?
First I'll say, I've been refereeing now for 12 years. Referee abuse is always and will always be part of the game, unfortunately. The phrase that it's on the rise has been used year after year after year. Statistically, it's actually pretty steady. Rises minimally, drops minimally, all sorts of stuff. That being said, I'm running transparency, and transparency is what we're going to do. So if there is abuse, then that needs to be known. Red cards, whatever it may be, needs to be known within our local community that this person or this coach or whatever it may be is out to our community as referees, to just the way we can record it and we can follow it, and we know there's a pattern of behavior for certain players, certain coaches, whatever it may be, and then we can take action after that.
So through our presentation with our league leaders, after they went to the NASO conference, you're right, there has been an increase. The process that we have currently needs to be more robust. We have a self-reporting tool. Players, referees are to report, and then we make sure that it goes to Rocky Mountain Rugby for them to handle. And I have shown that I'm going to continue it through. We had 2 instances that I can put a button on that I had to follow through with. But as it stands right now, the referee organization is not the organization that handles that. I'm driving with RMR to make sure that they are more robust in their referee abuse sanction. But as it stands right now, that's a shortcoming.
Okay, so with that, we'll ask our 2 candidates to step outside. And it's an opportunity to kind of discuss amongst the group.
For those on the Zoom, I guess we're gonna have like an open discussion. So I guess we could raise our hand and speak in a cordial manner about this discussion of what we would like to talk about and what we would like the leadership of our organization to be. So with that, questions, comments, concerns for our organization. Joe.
Mike? Yeah, there's the mic.
I'm Mark.
No, get up to the mic, microphone. Yeah. So that discussion about Zoom meetings versus in-person meetings, my take on that is Zoom is a wonderful tool. But when we do get out onto the field and do demonstration stuff, the visuals are so much better than watching even the best produced international game with replays. The visuals are so much better in person. And you know, we want to be a community. Okay, do we want to be a digital community, or do we want to be able to look each other in the eye? I think I say we keep in-person meetings. If we have to go, you know, meetings here, there, and everywhere, I'm sure there are some people from here that wouldn't mind driving to a meeting up in Greeley, Fort Collins, driving to a meeting down in Colorado Springs, just to get that in-person thing. Agreed. I agree too. Mike, not Mark.
Dale. So I agree with you, Joe. I think having in-person is very important. Zoom is a great tool. Perhaps if we had meetings, if we were going to travel to Colorado Springs or Fort Collins or whatever, because I do feel bad for those people who can't come up on a Wednesday, or what is today, Tuesday, Monday. On a Monday afternoon, Monday evening, we could do it on a Saturday afternoon. It'd be an easier travel for a lot of people, but then you're running into game day, family, exactly. So I don't think we can give up Zoom, honestly.
We're gonna go with Angela, you, then me. Joe, did you have another question? No? I can come up with one. So Angela is online, then Paul, then Michael.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me very clearly, but I would like a notation. I would like a notation about who the vice chairs are going to be potentially for the current chair runners.
That's not for right now.
That's not for right now. That'll be decided by who gets elected. I mean, that's just kind of like, those are committees, those are appointed committees. And the two candidates are out of the room.
Wouldn't we need a special meeting to change bylaws?
To
Change the bylaws
for what?
from the three-person exec to.
Yes, we would need to vote on new bylaws. That would require a special meeting to have the elected position of chair and, or vice chair and whatever.
Yeah.
But that's like asking who is already, sorry, Angela, that's not. We can't address that right now. I'm sorry. Paul.
So I just wanted to, again, as a past executive committee member, current appointed member, past chair, past vice chair, you know, we changed bylaws and voted on them as a group several years ago because we had several voting members on the committee and it just became too cumbersome. We couldn't even see the full committee. And so I think actually Joe's done a great job just by the way of reaching out and getting volunteers into positions. So, you know, I think that it's the most active executive committee we've had in a long time, my tenure included, making light work of it or do better work. I know it's certainly a burden on himself too. So just want to point that out. And then to what we just said, yeah, to add more committee members, we have to have another meeting as we call upon. So the body has to vote on a change in the bylaws. We can't just add those things. So those are things that couldn't really do. And then the other appointed positions are all pretty, you know, they're here to work, I think. So that's my comment really.
I just wanted to make a comment on why our candidates are wanting to do this. We went through, there was an article written by ESPN about Joe's safe sport issue, and that seemed to rouse a lot of people and thinking that Joe's not safe and whatnot. And I'm glad that Pierce is wanting to do it, but Pierce made one meeting since he's moved here, and he then decided to elect to run for chair. I really hope that Pierce wants to be chair, and I hope it's not that Pierce wants to be chair because he doesn't want Joe to be chair. Like, that's my concern. Both Chris and Pierce haven't made many meetings, haven't been to many functions, and I'm looking out for the greater good of Rocky Mountain. As far as like, I know, I think there could be a place for Pierce, and if he does the work, then maybe we address this next AGM. But for me, right now, just coming in with 1 month, your first meeting, and then running an organization, it's a lot. It's a lot to do. That's my one comment on that. Jim?
Cool. Mark, can I jump in quick?
We're gonna go with Jim and then whoever just did that. Just a no. Yeah.
Couple of different points. I'm very happy with how Joe has run the society this year. all the stuff we saw tonight about what is accomplished, the exchanges, the training, et cetera. And then from a individual point of view, as you know, I'm heavily involved with discipline, with things like referee abuse on behalf of World Rugby, USA Rugby, and Rocky Mountain Rugby. I can tell you, Joe has frequently contacted me, asked advice how to go, talked to me about issues. He has sotto voce asked me, now, as a result of talking to him, I've made a couple of calls to try to facilitate things. The point is that he cares, and he's been doing a lot in that area, in my opinion. Thank you.
Chris O'Malley, then J.R. Leperrier.
Yeah, just to defend myself against the comments about my involvement. I definitely had a period of lack of involvement, and while I'm no longer running, I'm a fully committed member of the society on the field in these meetings as a peer, as a partner, and that meeting will only increase. My commitment will only increase going forward in whatever role that I have in the society. So, just wanted to say that.
Awesome. JR? Sorry, I butchered your last name, JR. Can you hear me, JR? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. Just a quick question. How long has Pierce been here? And since he's been a member?
I believe he moved here a year ago. Yeah,
That's what he said.
yeah, he said he moved here a year ago.
And he immediately joined the Referee Society?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Hey.
I was going to say, like, I know both of them have had experience in different referee societies as well. And Pierce says he was part of the executive committee of different societies. I know Joe came from a different society just 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, so they're both relatively new to our society. I think could both be positive influences. I know I do still have some reservations based on that article and some things around that, which make me nervous still. And I think the vibe I was getting is neither of them are against doing in-person meetings. I think main thing I will push for as part of the executive committee is being more intentional with our in-person meetings and still having better Zoom support if we are having Zoom. Because I've been on Zoom side a lot and it sucks. Like, we don't hear a whole lot. Like, it's nice having the microphone and how we're being really intentional with that tonight. I think either direction, I think both of them will serve all communities in being in person, on Zoom, and finding a more equitable and good use of our time. Like, I never want to come down because we'll just sit and talk for a bit. But if I know we're going out in the field and doing things, I'm a lot more motivated to come down from Greeley to these meetings. I think, again, if we move the meetings around, I think they're both open to that idea, so we can make these meetings more beneficial for everyone.
Does anyone online have another comment? Does anyone from the floor have another comment? Can't see everyone. Joe? No, Paul?
Yes.
Uh,
Just one last comment.
Yeah, anyone online, go and raise your hand. If not, when Paul's done, we're gonna move on.
I just want to give like some personal, I'm on the phone with Joe several times a week, and as part of the executive committee. So I know his heart is in for the sport of rugby, for refereeing in general. He has his heart into improving this society. That's really all I want. I mean, if you can't feel that in his speech and how much he really, this matters to him and how much time he puts into this, I see it every day. And I work harder because he kind of pushes me to work harder at this role, and this role sucks. It does. But if it makes the society run better and makes your lives better, then, I'll fall on that stick. But I just wanted to point that out on how hard he really does. It's all behind the scenes and nobody else really sees it, because, a lot of times the chair or president role is kind of like push the buttons, but he's actually doing the work. So that's all I wanted to say.
Brandon, yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Just to
kind of back up Pierce a little bit. I know that most of us know Joe just past year, and we're all kind of, I'm new to this area. A lot of us are new to kind of the performance areas, non-performance areas. A lot of people come from different areas. Pierce, if you don't know him, he has been, like I said, he's been refereeing in the US for 10 plus 12 years. He has a pretty positive and pretty well-known reputation throughout the US nationally and as a national performer with high-level stuff. And he has done pretty positive impacts. There are, I mean, with that article being written in the past, whatever it was, this past month, that got a lot of people talking outside of our society. I'm sure you would expect that. And there's been a lot of comments from people outside and the positive impacts that Pierce made in his societies and how he was very quickly put into those positions. So I know we might have not seen him in some of these meetings here. Sometimes it's high demand for some people to get to these areas, especially on a Monday night. But I do have faith, and I hope you guys have faith with his reputation, and believe that he would have a pretty positive impact on us to give him the opportunity, just as much as he has the same time period here with those relationships. Although Joe has like formally had those opportunities as the chair position, Pierce still has those relationships under the radar through these people because of his national reputation. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, so that will conclude our discussion.
Hey, Katie, did you ask them to join?
For those of you online and have not sent in your proxies, can you start texting your votes to either Mark or myself, or to the Marks?
C or K?
It's your choice if you like the French version or the American version. Start texting your votes. We're going to hand out cards here. Mark, up, you may want to move out of the screen. Oh, well, yeah, they can see it online. You're all going to vote here. Brendan, you have 2 proxies, correct?
Just me and one more.
Okay. Would you mind helping us count? Since you were just elected?
Does anyone have any other proxies for themselves? For other people? Great.
I think right here.
No, you just need to write. Yes, I mean, you can write. You'd be anonymous.
Yeah, so let him know.
We can go out to the counter and vote. And up there. No. There's a change in the counter out there. So you take the vote out there. Bring it back in.
The drop out?
Oh, no, it's kind of.
Yeah, so, no, that was it.
Mark.
So it was a penalty taken to post. They were going to convert a penalty, right?
Here you go. Anybody need a pen?
Yep.
The pen's with you.
And they cut it and then.
You guys stupid and play it. Oh, no.
The reason why I asked it, I was playing trying to just get over it. And they go, and then they go like, oh, go.
Because what is life? She made it bad. That makes you said. Stepping out.
Thanks.
Definitely. Yeah, all right, that's fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that.
I'm Moody.
I need a pen.
There's a pen. Our one pen?
I charge that though by the second.
Hey, Katie. Katie, you want to come up?
Yeah, let me do mine quicker than I was.
My mom's like laughing.
Sorry. No way you can do it before. Where else have we got 30?
Yeah, it's Mark and I.
Yeah. 31. About that.
Yeah, come on.
There's a lap. Yes, that's. Grab a couple.
Has everyone here voted? Everyone got your votes in? Everyone online, do we have your votes? Let's get those in. We're gonna give you 2 more minutes.
Yes. So, I want to count those, I'll count the. No, I'm small. Yeah. I used to be. But I never have anybody do any changes, but we had a guy who. Mark? Yeah. Tell me why this.
I made kids and go by the time period. It was a confusing one, right? That's all we're pretty low. Yeah, so she chose it.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you said she chose 22.
No. She said it's 5. That's why they scored. If they scored, it would have been. That's why it should have been. The score was 2 points. Then it was 1. So that's right there. But I tried to correct her. I wasn't sure if it was correct. She was already saying it's wrong. I think it was 22. Not bad. I should be well, the low error.
My kid tonight, that's what he did.
I have 4. There was a question on the Zoom, we can get confirmation,
But maybe we're thinking about it, I should.
confirmation text, but we have received, yeah, that's gonna take a minute to process. So give us a second to send you back a text that we received your vote.
Well, that was not holding on. That's confusing.
Well, that's different. There was one thing that, so I saw the red hand was like the blue hand.
I know, but you know, it used to be a really strong older guy. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, you did?
Donnie, yeah.
How did they screw up the logo?
Well, they put
I don't think you used it like that.
oh, the old one.
The special orders that you guys did years ago? Somebody trying to get back here to play Aspen.
Okay, everyone have a seat, please. Mike, would you quit shopping for Christmas presents? Okay, we have a result. And on behalf of everyone who has participated, and it's also great that we do have so many people wanting to help out. That is setting the tone for what is going to be a great 2023, and that 2023 will be led by Joe Burko.
Guys, I'm gonna go back to the top of what I said at the beginning. This is legitimately at least from the memory that I accessed, this is the third competitive election that Rocky Mountain had. So I want to say thanks to everybody that participated. I know I'm glad that Pierce and I were able to sit out there and let everybody have a frank discussion. I promise I won't go back and rewatch it and then hold it against you. But many hands do make light work. I do want to see everybody out. I want to see taking on roles so that way we can develop past what the 3 initial roles that we have, the 10 that have been established, staff, and then the more that we can do. With that, I have nothing additional.
Winter social.
Winners of Social will be coming out once we get to talk with the new. Yeah, we will have a winter social. So this is our last meeting for 2022. January 2023, we don't have one. You'll see the cancellation come through, but there will be a winter social. Sometimes that happens in January, sometimes that happens in early February. So we'll, Katie and I will be talking about that. Otherwise, anything else? Great, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for online. Looking forward to